The email landed in my inbox, its subject line a bland, corporate notice of promotion. I stared at it, the words blurring, then sharpening, then blurring again. Senior software engineer. The title, the bump in salary, the promise of stock options. It all felt like a mirage. 7 years. 7 years of grinding, of late nights fueled by lukewarm coffee and cold pizza, of debugging lines of code until my vision swam, of sacrificing weekends and holidays. 7 years, all for this. I clicked the attachment, scanned the details, then leaned back in my ergonomic chair, a slow, hollow triumph settling in my chest. This was it. The escape hatch. My phone buzzed. It was Sarah, my sister. My older sister. My perpetually aggrieved, perpetually broke, perpetually dependent older sister. My jaw tightened. I knew what she wanted. She always wanted something. "You're home," she said, her voice already laced with a whine, the moment I picked up. Finally. I've been waiting. I walked through my front door, the scent of stale takeout hitting me first, then the sight of her sprawled on my couch, remote in hand, my TV blaring some reality show. Her feet, bare and slightly grubby, rested on my freshly polished coffee table. I swallowed the sharp retort that rose in my throat. I had a long day, Sarah. I tossed my keys onto the small table by the door. "What's up?" She sat up slowly, like a cat stretching after a long nap. Her eyes, usually so quick to well with self-pity, held an uncharacteristic gleam. "I did it, Nat." A wide, almost manic grin stretched across her face. "I quit." My breath hitched. I stood frozen in the doorway, my briefcase still clutched in my hand. "Quit what?" I asked, though a cold dread was already coiling in my stomach. "Your job? At the call center." She nodded, a triumphant bob of her head. "Yep. Done. Finito. No more soul-crushing calls about overdue bills. No more toxic manager breathing down my neck." She clapped her hands together, a sound far too cheerful for the bombshell she'd just dropped. "It's over." My mind raced, scrambling for an explanation. Any explanation that didn't involve her being completely unmoored. "Sarah, you didn't have another job lined up, did you? You didn't just walk out." "Of course not," she scoffed, as if I'd suggested she'd sprouted wings and flown to the moon. "I mean, yes, I just walked out. But why would I need another job?" Her gaze locked onto mine, unwavering, brimming with an unsettling certainty. "You're here, aren't you?" My grip on the briefcase tightened, my knuckles turning white. "What does that mean, Sarah?" Each word felt like chipped glass in my throat. She waved a dismissive hand. "Oh, come on, Nat, don't be dense. You've got the big fancy tech job, the apartment, the 401k, or whatever rich people have. I'm family. You'll support me. You'll support us." She gestured vaguely towards the kitchen, where her 2 children, Leo and Maya, were presumably rummaging through my pantry. I hadn't even heard them arrive. A ringing in my ears started, faint at first, then growing louder, drowning out the tinny laughter from the TV. Us. She meant herself and her children. My nieces and nephew, who she'd abandoned with my parents countless times, only to swoop back in when it suited her. My parents, who were already stretched thin, financially and emotionally, trying to keep her afloat. "Support you." My voice came out as a strangled whisper. "Sarah, I have my own life. My own bills. My own future to build." "Oh, please," she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You're practically rich. What's a few extra mouths? It's family, Nat. You're supposed to help family." Her voice took on that familiar, manipulative edge, the one that always made me feel like the selfish villain in her endless drama. "Remember how Mom always said we have to stick together? We're all we've got." I remembered. I remembered Mom saying a lot of things. Like, "Sarah's sensitive, Nat, you have to be gentle with her." Or, "She struggles, Nat, you're the strong one." It was always me. Always the strong one. Always the one to pick up the pieces. Always the one to sacrifice. No, the word was a raw, guttural sound, tearing from my chest. "No, Sarah. I won't." Her eyes widened, her confident smirk dissolving into a look of genuine shock. "What did you say?" I said no. I dropped the briefcase, the dull thud echoing in the sudden silence of the living room. "I am not supporting you. I am not supporting your children. You made a choice. A reckless, irresponsible choice. And you will deal with the consequences." Her face twisted, a storm brewing in her eyes. "You can't be serious. You'd let your own sister, your own nieces and nephews starve? You'd let us be homeless." Her voice rose, shrill and accusatory. "After everything I've done for you? Everything you've done for me? I laughed, a short, bitter bark that held no humor. What exactly have you done for me, Sarah? Besides borrowing money you never repaid? Besides leaving your kids with mom and dad so you could go on another spiritual retreat? Besides making every family gathering a performance of your latest crisis? Her jaw dropped. You ungrateful bitch, she shrieked, leaping to her feet. I was there for you. When you broke your arm in 5th grade, I brought you Jell-O. When you got dumped by that loser Mark in high school, I listened to you cry. You brought me Jell-O because mom made you, I retorted, my voice trembling with a rage I'd suppressed for decades. And you listened to me cry about Mark because you loved hearing about my misery. You thrive on it, Sarah. You thrive on being the victim, on being the one who needs saving, so everyone else has to drop everything and cater to you. Her face contorted, a flush spreading across her cheeks. How dare you? You think you're so much better than me, don't you? With your fancy job and your expensive clothes. You're just a cold, heartless robot who cares more about money than family. That fancy job is the result of years of hard work. I shot back, my voice rising to match hers. Something you wouldn't know anything about. And yes, I care about money, Sarah, because money gives me independence. It gives me security. Something you clearly have no concept of. Leo and Maya, drawn by the escalating volume, appeared in the kitchen doorway, wide-eyed and silent. Their presence, usually a softener, only fueled my anger. They were innocent, yes, but they were also her latest weapon, her latest excuse. Sarah saw them too. Her voice immediately dropped, morphing into a wounded whisper. See, kids? Aunt Natalie doesn't care about us. She only cares about herself. She pulled them closer, wrapping an arm around each of them, turning them into props in her manufactured tragedy. She's going to let us be poor. She's going to let us go hungry. My stomach churned. The urge to scream, to lash out, to finally break free of this suffocating dynamic was overwhelming. Don't you dare, Sarah, I hissed, pointing a trembling finger at her. Don't you dare use them. This is on you. Not me. You. Fine, she screamed, her voice cracking. Fine. If that's how you want to play it. You can just forget you have a sister. You can just forget you have a family. She dragged the children towards the door. Come on, kids. We're leaving. Aunt Natalie clearly doesn't want us here. Leo looked at me, a flicker of confusion in his young eyes. Maya whimpered, clutching her mother's leg. I stood there, rooted to the spot, watching them go. The door slammed shut, rattling the framed pictures on the wall. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the faint, cheerful chatter from the TV, a stark contrast to the storm that had just ripped through my apartment. I sank onto the couch, the adrenaline draining from my body, leaving me hollowed out and shaking. My eyes burned. My throat ached. 7 years. 7 years of working towards this promotion, this financial freedom. And for what? To be confronted with the exact same burden, the exact same emotional blackmail, just in a different package. The next few days were a blur of phone calls. My mother, her voice thick with tears, pleaded with me. Natalie, please. She has nowhere to go. The children. My father, usually stoic, sounded defeated. She's your sister, honey. Family is family. My Aunt Carol, always the peacemaker, offered unsolicited advice. You know how Sarah is. She just needs a little push. A little help to get back on her feet. Each call chipped away at my resolve, but only for a moment. Then the image of Sarah's smug face, her entitlement, her casual expectation that I would simply shoulder her responsibilities, would flash in my mind. And the anger, cold and steady, would return. I had spent my entire life being the responsible one, the stable one, the one who picked up the slack. Not anymore. I took the promotion. I accepted the new responsibilities, the increased travel, the longer hours. I dove into work with a ferocity that surprised even me. It was a distraction, a shield, a way to channel the simmering resentment into something productive. Then came the apartment hunting. Not just a new apartment, but an apartment in a different state. A different time zone. A different life. I researched cities, cost of living, job markets. I found a place in Denver, a vibrant tech hub with mountains and sunshine. It was far enough to breathe. I told my parents first. My mother wept. My father sighed. They understood, or at least they said they did. You deserve to live your own life, Nat, my father said, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. You've done more than enough. That was the closest I'd ever heard him come to acknowledging Sarah's burden on our family. I didn't tell Sarah. Not directly. I knew she'd find out. She always did. And I wanted to be gone, truly gone, before the inevitable explosion. The moving process was a whirlwind. I packed my life into boxes, purged years of accumulated clutter, and sold furniture I no longer needed. Each item I parted with felt like shedding a layer of my old self, a shedding of the expectations that had weighed me down for so long. 2 days before the moving truck arrived, my phone rang. It was Sarah. "So," she began, her voice dripping with venom, "I hear you're running away." I didn't respond. I just held the phone to my ear, listening to the static, to the frantic thrum of my own heartbeat. "You think you can just abandon us?" Her voice rose, hysteria creeping in. "You think you can just leave your family behind and start some new, perfect life without us?" "I'm starting my life, Sarah," I said, my voice calm, steady. The quiet resolve surprised even me. A life I've worked hard for. A life that doesn't involve being responsible for your choices. A choked gasp, then a torrent of accusations. "You're a monster. A selfish, heartless bitch. I hope you fail. I hope you're miserable. I hope you lose everything." Her words were a barrage of poison, but they bounced off me, unable to penetrate the thick skin I'd built over the past few weeks. "Goodbye, Sarah." I hung up before she could say anything else. My hand didn't even tremble. The drive to Denver was long, punctuated by pit stops and cheap motel rooms. Each mile put more distance between me and the life I was leaving behind. The familiar ache in my chest, a constant companion for so long, began to recede, replaced by a quiet sense of anticipation. My new apartment was smaller, but filled with light. The air in Denver was crisp, clean, smelling of pine and possibility. The mountains loomed in the distance, majestic and indifferent, a stark contrast to the suffocating familiarity of my old life. I started my new job. The team was welcoming, the work challenging. I explored the city on weekends, hiked mountain trails, and met new people. I found a sense of peace I hadn't known existed. The calls from my mother still came, less frequent now, less urgent. She'd mentioned Sarah, briefly, vaguely, but the pleas had stopped. My father, surprisingly, seemed to understand. He even sounded a little proud. One evening, a few months into my new life, I was cooking dinner, a simple pasta dish, when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother. A picture. Leo and Maya, smiling, standing next to my dad in front of a small, tidy house. The caption read, "Your father found a place. They're settled." A wave of relief washed over me, so profound it almost brought me to my knees. My parents, despite their age and their struggles, had once again stepped up. They were good people. They were family. I looked around my quiet apartment, at the unpacked boxes, at the mountain range visible from my window. I had made a choice. A hard choice. A choice that had alienated my sister and caused pain to my parents. But it was my choice, and I was finally truly free. The weight I had carried for so long, the invisible chains of obligation and guilt, had finally shattered. I was no longer the strong one, forced to carry everyone else's burdens. I was just Natalie, and that finally was enough.